And we are back, guys. Welcome back to this episode of the Squeeze Pod. And today we are here with an amazing brother. And of course, this man is actually my own brother. He is the owner and proprietor of Phoenix Paradigm Publishing, LLC. This brother is doing amazing stuff for the community. That is the Black community. He is trying to uplift us as best as possible, bring us into a better nest so that way we can grow and fulfill our dreams as Black people today. Now, I'm gonna let him speak a little bit about what it is that he does and who he is so that way you can have a more well-rounded answer to who it is Chili Charlie is.
Thank you, my brother Juice. It's a pleasure to be here. It's a community effort, so I'm glad that I got to join you on your podcast and, tell the people a little bit about what's going on, what we represent over at the Phoenix Paradigm. So I started the Phoenix Paradigm maybe in 2000.
Well, hold on real fast. I just want to thank you for coming on too. And anybody watching and you watch the Phoenix Paradigm, please go on over. We have his information linked down in the description. Go over there, see some stuff, learn something new, like, comment, subscribe, just like we would love for you to do here. And we thank you. Let's get into it.
Absolutely. Make sure you drop a comment, everything for the Squeeze podcast,
That's okay.
And show your support for the community. It's a community effort, as we mentioned before. So started the Phoenix Paradigm, or the conception started around 2013. Always have been a writer. That's been my calling. When I was in elementary school, I liked to write my own stories. I was a very big fan of anime. So the thing that really got me, aside from the action in it, was the plot, the story, and how it evolved in the character development and things of that nature. That led me to creating my own stories.
Do you mind if I ask you what animes were the ones that really got you hooked? For the people out here,
So, as a 90s baby,
okay,
initially,
got the classics.
Yeah, it was Dragon Ball Z.
Okay, that's what got you started?
That's what
Dragon Ball, though.
Dragon Ball. But back when Toonami was on,
okay,
they didn't have Dragon Ball until they had Dragon Ball Z.
Okay.
Dragon Ball Z came over first.
Okay.
So, as pretty, being a fan of Dragon Ball Z, we decided to do our own history, jump into Shonen Jump and stuff like that, and then learned about Dragon Ball afterwards, which is a great story in itself. It came from the epic of Journey to the West.
Yes, Journey to the West. Yeah. I know that one. It's a very classic, and a lot of people don't know about Journey to the West, but that one definitely is. If you don't know, a lot of these stories are repurposed. It's like the Epic of Gilgamesh, and a lot of people who don't know about the Epic of Gilgamesh won't know that a lot of his tales correlate to Jesus Christ himself. But we're not going to get into that. This is how a lot of these stories, come about and the mythology grows. That's all it really is that I'm trying to say. And I know that Chili Charlie's going to go over and let you guys know more about, what shaped his experiences through these animes.
Okay. So, like I mentioned, the storyboard, the plot, and all that, it led me to create my own stories, and I have a very vivid imagination. Even now, while we were in college, we had a couple of stories that we started creating and everything.
Henceforth, they still coming. And just so people know, so we're going to give a little backstory because he hinted towards it. Myself and Cosmo go back to our college days. We were both BSU, Bowie State Bulldogs. So, everybody from the BSU, I hope that you're doing well and you're being blessed. And I hope you're seeing that we have grown past our young self in our younger days.
Yes, much love to the BSU alumni and current enrolled students and everything like that. Much love to you. Where were we? Okay, so Dragon Ball Z, one of my favorites, all-time favorites. But we were talking about Yu Yu Hakusho a little bit. That they just came out with a live action of that. Has It has some good points, but it has nothing on the original anime. Gosh, that even the anime itself was not long enough, in my opinion, because it left us off on a huge cliffhanger. There was so much to be, wanting. There was so much we were left wanting from that, in my opinion. But Yu Yu Hakusho was another one. Inuyasha was a favorite of mine.
Well, hold on. Can I interject really fast?
Yeah.
The Yu Yu Hakusho writer, this was when he was still young. He felt as though he had did everything he could do with the characters. Now, us as fans, I know that our minds were working because I do think that Yusuke Urameshi could have gone the distance, but he was already doing stuff that a lot of in-game characters aren't even doing today.
All right.
On top of that, he went on to start doing the Hunter x Hunter show. And then now we know that he's been having a lot of health complications. So that made him unable to even finish that series. So long story short, he would have lost his ability to create multiple stories like you probably yourself like to do by focusing too much on the one.
Granted, I just learned something about that. To be honest, I never got into Hunter x Hunter.
Amazing story.
Is it?
It's absolutely. It's very much outside of the conventional means. The story is taken from a perspective of somebody who lost a father and is on the search for them, instead of it being, well, I just don't have a father and I'm not going to do anything about it. My life is just without one. It does a lot of things, and it also, of course, gets to a spiritual point where that just draws in people here nor there. But we're getting a little bit off the topic because we're here to talk about you, not the animes that built you.
That's true that.
But you can't tell me how they shaped your storytelling and all of that. Back to, we were talking about Bowie.
Yeah, so just the twists and turns of the story, actually, the unexpected elements of it is kind of what drew me into storytelling in that nature. So in Bowie, what actually got me involved in the path that I'm on as far as the Phoenix Paradigm, there was a course, a African American history course that was taught by Dr. Tickasing, and that's something that I took in my sophomore year, and that pretty much gave me context of what African Americans or black people in the United States, Africans in America in the United States were going through in the Reconstruction era, so the era directly after slavery.
Can you give us a little take on what that was like for you, or what is it that you learned from it?
So I learned that while it wasn't like this period where, the amendments were ratified and everything, and then we just jumped into modern history, there was a period where Africans in America actually held a whole lot of offices in the southern states, and they were running what was before known as the Confederate States and things like to that nature. And then that's when the white leagues and the KKK and all these other supremacy groups came up, and pretty much they started disenfranchising the people who were in office. So they came up with racist laws and statutes and things like that, which is like the grandfather clause. If your grandfather couldn't vote, neither can you.
So the creation of like the KKK, not the implementation, but the ratification of the Jim Crow laws.
Right.
I would even say you could even speak on the Black Wall Street standpoint, where that comes into all of that. And I do understand that. And I think that you can clearly see today in our society, we've taken such a hit that we don't even know how to repair ourselves. And that's why I think that your channel is so amazing, because you are trying to mend those broken parts of the black wealth side of it. And just like I myself am trying to do, but you're doing it in a standpoint where you're talking about the politics and stuff like that, where I just am letting people know exactly what they can do to start gaining themselves the money today, because a lot of people don't want to work and figure out all the things that come along with becoming that good success. They just want the quick answers. So that's why I kind of try to give them those.
Absolutely. So in that regard, we have a lot of history, a wealth of knowledge and information that goes into it, into how the system works from a Black perspective. And in 2024, it's a little disheartening because a lot of how we operate it's kind of like emotional. It's emotional rather than through facts. Like, we take standpoints based on how we feel rather than the actual, history of things, documentation. So a great book that I like to reference, I don't want to butcher, is by Dr. Neely Fuller. And what he did was pretty much he broke down how racism works through the 9 areas of people, what would you call that? Areas of people living. So things like education, entertainment, sex, war, politics, and then there's obviously 4 more. But yeah, so he talked about that through identifying how racism really works, how now, because we went through overt racism back, through the conception of the United States, which is a fairly young country. So if you think about the history of the United States, it's about 250 plus years now. That's really small when you compare it to the history of like China, of Japan.
Places with monarchies.
Exactly, places with monarchies like Great Britain, France, Spain. Like, we are a fairly young country. So we've gone through very tumultuous times, and things have changed very rapidly over a number of times. So it's kind of a staple when Black people talk about our experience that people say, don't look into the past. Why you got to go back there and stuff like that? But when you do that, we get disconnected from what's brought us here today. And that's why I think, in my opinion, that's why there's a lot of division in our community.
What you said there is absolutely powerful. And that's honestly one of the reasons why I even started the podcast, because we don't speak on the tough facts, the things that are outside of the emotions about how we're feeling, the things that actually get us the results we are looking for, and why we aren't working together as a community to bring ourselves there, but we're looking outside of it from other people to give us the answers. And then when we get those answers and they don't really work for us, we try to then shun the people that didn't help us get to where we wanted to go, and then shun the answers that we got to get there in general. So it's like, for example, you can't lead a horse to water because they either might not drink or whatever the case might be. It's even harder than that, though, is because we are adverse to one another. And it's because of all of the, what I would say, brainwashing that has happened. And then there's generational trauma that a lot of people try to dismiss. And it's hard to talk about because when we do speak on it, it's something that is very invisible, so it's something you feel like you can't tackle.
Divide and conquer. Divide and conquer is one of the biggest tactics that is used, against our people. I would say it's even the biggest tactic that's used against our people.
But the strongest thing about it now is that we do it to ourselves without anyone else having to try. So that there in itself is an issue that we have to tackle together. So before I get involved any further, I wanted to say, if you are interested, please drop down in the comment buttons if you are interested in getting on the podcast, because I would love to interview you. If you're doing something that you are confident in, I am definitely going to have you on. So just drop down. You can hit the like button, because guess what? Showing love is free, guys. It doesn't take anything. It doesn't cost you a dime. All you have to do is just go on and hit the button, and I'll be happy to have you on. All right. So back into what you were saying, though, Chili, please go ahead and continue what you were saying.
Yeah, so to bring full circle of that thought about, well, just how racism has evolved, because it's it's a systemic evolutionary process, to put it lightly. So when we first, when the Africans who were in Africa were brought to, and then we had to mingle with the Africans that were in America, the Native Americans, or so to speak, there was the overt racism that we dealt with. Then as it progressed, it became subtle because they set up systems and we had the laws and everything like that. So it moved into the legislature and everything. So from the legislation, as time progressed, there isn't much of a need for everyday people to go into your face and be overtly racist. It still happens in southern states. People talk about it in Texas. You see it on online. You see it online. People are quick to pick up the phones and be like, this person called me the N-word and stuff like that. But as it is, you can keep people out of certain things just from the laws. And that's why they always say, it's a big staple that they say, if you want to keep a black person down or you want a black person not to know something, put it in a book.
Because they probably won't pick it up. But what you're talking about is sneak dissing. They out here sneak dissing, and you are correct. You don't have to be overt, because guess what? The internet has so much power now that all these people are anonymous. They hide behind faceless pages, and they'll say whatever they feel like. We call them trolls or whatever, but it's really the unadulterated inner thoughts that people have that they just want to spew anywhere because they want people to feel exactly like them. Deep down, people don't want people to feel good. We want to be like crabs in a barrel. We want them to all feel as bad as we do. But I am of the opposite ilk, and I want everyone to get to the best version of themselves, because I don't subscribe nor like dealing with people who are sad and depressed. And it is a choice, but at the same time, it is a choice that is hard to make.
Yes, sir. And as Kwame Ture said it, we're not prejudice, because that's what it is. Racism is systemic. Prejudice is what everyday people exhibit to one another. We're not prejudiced to other people, but we are pro our people, because as Africans in America, or black people, or people of color, whatever you want to refer to us as, because we're all one, we are treated as the lowest people on the totem. So if you uplift the base, everybody rises with us. There's no way that we can uplift the base and then everybody else just suffers. I think that's one of the fears that racist people have, that, if we, excel into a better state of life, then we're going to come back and start harming them or treating them the way that they've treated us, which that's not how most people think. That's a sickness.
You are correct. And I wanted to say something. You said something very powerful there. We have to uplift each other. And I think that the best part of that quote is, as far as the internet is concerned, you can see it all the time. But I'm going to say something that is a demographic fact. And that is that, right now, black women, and I know that you ladies can understand and relate, they have been put as the most unappealing or most undesirable types of women, and I'm talking about black American women, in the dating realm.
Right,
okay,
completely untrue. Love me a black woman, of course. I'm sorry.
No, and that's absolutely fine. But what I wanted to say involving in that is that now that there are gentlemen out here trying to let you women know what it is that we are looking for and are checking you on the things that you have been incorrect on, you need to be able to listen to those kind of things so that way we can, as a community, grow to a better place. Now, I know that you have whatever generational traumas that you have gone through, whatever stigmas and traumas that you have experienced in your own life, but you also have to understand that a lot of these other people from different cultures are putting aside certain differences to understand and to grow their family and communities as a whole and better themselves on a standpoint that makes them those top 1 and 0.10 percentile as far as monetary wealth, as far as being able to do what they want to do when they want to do them, as far as being able to influence the community around them. And now we have taken a little bit of a tangent, so let's get back on to you guys over at the Phoenix Paradigm. Can you tell me though, like, what was an event that sparked your desire to embark on a journey that you are on right now?
Event? I don't think there was specifically one event. Like, growing up, I always loved to hear about our leaders, the black leaders, people who looked like me, who influenced our community to want to do better. I've always, before I had the scholarly knowledge, I always knew that black people had a lot of potential and that our potential was not being capitalized. Like, we didn't, it wasn't being maximized for sure. So a little back history about my family. So my mother's lineage is Liberian, and half of that, so my great grandfather, which is my mother's grandfather, that on that side, he was part of the repatriation movement that Marcus Garvey led over to Liberia and everything. And they commingled with the indigenous people of Liberia. And we won't get into that because it's a lot of behind that as well. But just sticking to where I'm going with this, my grandmother was actually a princess of a tribe, the indigenous people over there. So, there was royalty. I knew that there was royalty in black people, in African people. Because if my little common black boy self, there was royalty in me, I knew that there had to be royalty in a whole lot of people out here that we just weren't aware about.
Well, hold on now. So you're saying you got royalty in your blood? How far down the line are you?
How far down the line? So my grandmother, she was a princess. My great grandfather was the chieftain of the indigenous tribe. So ladies, if you didn't hear that, you're talking to, this is a prince right here. So make sure you get down and follow him on all the apparatuses, because ain't likely you're gonna find a prince anywhere else just sitting around on a podcast telling you about his life story. Yeah, we don't like to boast about that. You know what I'm saying? I've always been a humble kind of guy, but those ties are in my family. Like, on my father's side, his father built the town in which my father grew up in. Well, not even grew up in, was born in. So the town is Ivory Coast. It's called Abangaru. My great-grandfather on my father's side, again, he was a lumberjack. He was a businessman and entrepreneur, and he migrated from Ghana over to Ivory Coast and, founded that town, built it from the ground up.
You know the name of it?
Abangaru.
Oh, Abangaru, excuse me.
Abangaru. Okay. Been there a couple of times. So I've been to Ivory Coast 3 times. I've been there 3 times, and every time I always go to Abangaru. They love us there. So there's this stipulation also that, Africans don't love black people, which is completely asinine because we're one people, so they don't really see us as different. Like, when we go over there, they revere us. They're like, they're American, but we're one people. They love us. They embrace us wholeheartedly. I spent a lot of time, going through sometimes IG, Facebook, stuff like that, and it hurts my soul when I see, these divisions, these groups, like sectioning yourself off and calling yourself one thing or the other and then saying, oh yeah, those people don't like us,
like the light skin, dark skin
right,
whole situation. Yeah.
very, very.
It's foolishness because we all black at the end of the day. And guess what? We all get arrested the same way. And, we still not getting, loans and all the other kind of stuff the exact same way. So it's no point in trying to be different in the tonality of your skin when the discrimination is equally the same amongst all of us.
Completely the same. And then it boils down to a power thing. It's like when you start to segment yourself off and then you cut yourself off from the whole. And one of my current heroes, one of the people that I do support is Dr. Umar Johnson. I'm Pan-African myself. But one of the things he talks about is when you cut yourself off from the whole, you leave yourself vulnerable to be treated any kind of way by anybody. Because we know in America, despite, all the curtains and, the bells and the whistles that they try to put on this equality shtick, we're not treated the same. We're not treated as equals. That's shown in police brutality. That's shown in the incarceration rates. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Like where we live, our communities, it's shown in our history. Again, this is why you got to learn your history. Every time black people have done anything to build themselves up, be it Black Wall Street or Tulsa, Oklahoma, or Rosewood down in Florida, they burned down these communities. There's a whole segment around like the First World War of the Red Summer where systemically, well, not even systemically, just black people building up towns and everything, and then the white people coming through in different parts of the country and just eradicating those towns, those self-sufficient towns. And it's not like these people, our people, were building towns and then, hurting people or going out and doing all the crazy things that white people have always feared, like they're gonna your women and stuff like that. They weren't doing any of that. I'm sorry.
Can't say that on the internet.
Right.
Say grape.
Right. Yeah, like grape. They weren't doing any of those things. We were just making a better situation for ourselves. And like I said, this was like after the Reconstruction era and everything of that nature.
Were there any moments of doubt or hesitation for you before you fully committed to trying to become the man that you are today, and even LLCing the Phoenix Paradigm?
Doubt, to me, it's a soul calling. So I can say that there's some hesitation. There's always been some hesitation because, again,
speak on it. What was the hesitation?
The hesitation is that the people that you're trying to work for, like serve, the community you're trying to serve, half of them don't even believe the message that you're trying to promote. The message that you're trying to promote to the people isn't received by them. And it's crazy to me because it's completely beneficial. It's wholly beneficial to them. It's not like if a Pan-African wins, then people in America are going to suffer. That's Marcus Garvey was essentially, he was Jamaican, but he came to America and he saw his roots. He understood his roots were in Africa. And while he was alive and when he created the Pan-African movement, that was the biggest movement that joined Africans from around the world, the diaspora around the world. So it was the biggest group of like empowered, like Africans joined hand in hand who believed it. That's how the repatriation movement worked. Of course, it was usurped later on by the United States, but that's what led to us getting a group of Africans who were first indentured, who went through indentured servitude and then migrate back to Africa.
Now, I got a question for you because, again, this is very powerful. And I think that we do miss the community involvement with one another because the narrative in America here is you can get it on your own. you got it, single ladies, and not to say, I'm not coming for you ladies, because it is definitely a individual mindset. It is you can do better without her, you can do better without them, all of these other kind of notions, and we have lost the fact that we as a community work well when we work together as the community. And you were saying the Pan-African movement brought us to the biggest level of brown skin black people coming together. What do you think it would take to bring us back to that point?
To bring us back to that point, we would have to put aside trivial differences and ideologies, religion, and things of that nature, and understand that at the root of it, we come out the womb as, we come out the womb as black people. Like, you can't escape it as African people. You know what I mean? Even the term, a lot of people attribute the term Africa to the continent. But if you dig deep enough, it's 3 words that come from the Medu Neter, which mean the flesh and soul of the sun. So that's what African people embodied before. We were the original people, so we also knew that as human beings, we were of the earth, and the earth came from the sun. So it was a lifestyle rather than a people. You understand? So to get back to that, we would have to go back to our roots as far as being people of nature, because we were people who survived off the earth, who thrived off the earth. We took care of the earth, and the earth took care of us. We learned medicine, and we learned how to build from the ground, from using materials in the ground, and we did it in a way where we weren't polluting the environment around us. We also learned to love one another because that was inherent in just that ideology.
And I definitely agree, because what I would say, and to make it a little bit more precise, is that we as a people, black people, are the most ingenuitous people in existence. If you are a black, brown, whatever person, you will know what I mean, because they are the only people that will take scraps given to them and make things that become treasures. Okay, we have turned plastic bottles into full-on computers. We have turned scrap meat into delectable dining feast.
Gumbo.
Of course, and I was going to reference with certain like chitlins. I would never eat chitlins, but it's something that it happened. And that's something that I thought was amazing too while we were at Bowie, that there was a time where they asked 3 good qualities that come from black people. And ingenuity was one of the ones that they revealed that I thought was absolutely amazing. It's, of course, we have physical prowess and the ability to speak within the community with one another without a lot of pushback when we allow ourselves to.
I would say even to top all of those, it's just our capacity to love.
That's really true. That's very, very, very true. So you were speaking on Marcus Garvey and Dr. Umar Johnson, who, if you guys haven't known, this gentleman has had an interview face-to-face with Dr. Umar Johnson, which I also think is absolutely amazing. And I just wanted to know, with your whole both creation of the Phoenix Paradigm and the journey that you are on now as far as creating content and building up the base of what it is that Phoenix Paradigm is, what were some of the things that they imparted to you, these people that you found are your mentor or somebody that influenced you? What was some of the information that they imparted on you?
Okay, so one thing was definitely to love our people first and foremost. African first. Self-sufficiency was a big thing. So, working through the community to build ourselves up, rallying each other, finding that love in ourselves, and then understanding our greatness, that we came from greatness, we despite how our circumstances are, we prove time and time how great we are in the present, despite what the news and, the media portrays on us. And in the future, we will continue to be great. That we're resilient, like you cannot get rid of black people. I'm under the firm belief that if there was a genocide of African people on the earth, then the whole earth would cease to exist. That would be Armageddon.
At its fullest capacity. That would be true Armageddon, huh?
Absolutely.
All right, so let me know this. Describe a moment when you went from being in the familiar part of all of what you've been going on to, and you moved in transition to the unfamiliar. And what was it that you did when you encountered those changes?
I would say that it's completely unfamiliar. It's always unfamiliar because you don't know who's going to, what reception you're going to get. Because, again, as I mentioned, through the brainwashing and everything that we go through as a community, you could be promoting positivity to a brother, and they could be hostile towards you from what you're saying.
Or they just want to bash you because they don't absolutely agree with your standpoint and don't take it for the highlighted information that it could gain. That they could gain from it. But it's neither here nor there because we aren't going to be able to spoon feed everybody. Every message ain't going to touch every person. So I definitely understand where you're coming from with that.
Yeah. So they also said that, not every, as far as repatriation goes, not every American or African in America needs to go back because not everybody's going to be useful for the movement. But, it only takes a small group of revolutionary thinking people to make a change. That's how revolution starts. So for me, that's always been a big thing. To my detriment, sometimes I go against the grain, and it's kind of ingrained in my character that I'm just not someone who does what the crowd is doing.
Outside of the norm, you like to go against the grain.
Yes, sir.
I understand. On your journey, have you met any friends or like-minded individuals that have helped you along your path?
Yeah, certainly. For instance, you are a great friend of mine.
I appreciate that.
So,
and I hope that this podcast is able to help you to grow because it is absolutely necessary. So please, guys, please take your time. Go over to the Phoenix Paradigm Publishing, LLC. It's going to be linked down in the description. Just click the link. He has a bunch of information for you as far as changing the diaspora for ourselves, improving your wealth. Is there anything else that you would like to mention that you have over there?
Yeah, so we provide services, that help empower black-owned businesses and, bring your creation, what your services and products are, to our community. So I help you with your representation online and social media through copywriting. Copywriting is a very necessary service for every business. Every business uses copywriting, whether they know it or not. It's the message that you promote to the people, in type. So, yes, sir.
And that's why I'm very much glad to have you on, because the biggest concern and staple for us here at The Squeeze is that we want to uplift our community. It's that last question. What did you say in the last thing? Because I need you to say that whole thing over again.
Okay. Yeah, I'll say it. So,
hold on. Go now.
Yeah. So, the service that I provide through the Phoenix Paradigm are social media marketing services, copywriting as well. Copywriting is the focus of our social media marketing service that we provide for black-owned businesses primarily. We want to help improve your messaging and how you effectively reach our community at large. So all this is in the hopes of revitalizing a Black Wall Street. Black Wall Street 2.0 is going to be like online now. So every business needs a copywriter. This is how, whether they know it or not, this is how their message is promoted to the public. And it's usually through type form.
And then, yes, that's what I was going to say. That's very powerful because here at the Squeeze, the biggest concern for us is that here in the DMV, we have a real big problem on not supporting one another. So the reason why I even have the interviews, and not to say that you aren't doing amazing things and I didn't want you on for all the absolutely amazing things that you are doing, but I definitely want to uplift everyone in the community that is both creative, they're structured, they're doing real estate, whatever that you're doing. Again, if you're proud, we want you on. We want to speak to you. We want to share your knowledge with everybody else around. And I want you to know that right here where you are at home, we support you. We are going to have your back, and I hope that we can work together. And just like you were saying, you support Black businesses, we're going to work together with the Phoenix Paradigm. So hopefully we can grow the page a little bit more, and we'll do the vice versa.
Absolutely. I love that. You know, that's definitely what we're about. So 100% behind that message. We just got to continue, guys. We just got to continue to show our love to each other, you know, despite what we see on the media. We got to understand that if we're not controlling the narrative on the media, the internet and whatnot, then it's not serving us.
And somebody else is controlling it too.
Exactly.
That's what you definitely have to be a parent of. Is if you're not in control of it, somebody else is, and what is it that they want you to do?
And we've gone through that for so long. We've gone through that for plenty of years, where we see these images and movies and things like that, and they project us in one light. But that's very one-dimensional. And you know that you are not a one-dimensional kind of people or person. If I can just speak plainly to you, you're not a one-dimensional person. So you got to understand that there's different ways that we can come across in that uniqueness to not fit in that one mold that they've made for us is very beneficial, not just to our community, but to the world. Just like I said, if Black people are eradicated from the earth, it's going to that's Armageddon.
It's the end of the world.
Yeah. Also, when Black people are uplifted, it's coming with us.
So have you come across any haters, and what was it like when you first encountered them? Especially as far as trying to do, you know, uplifting of the Black community.
I wouldn't necessarily call them haters, because there's a certain, the trolls, online trolls is really where you see them. But necessarily haters, people have doubts, and, you know, you always hear them, and you do your best not to internalize those doubts. But it's people projecting their own fears onto you. So as far as that's concerned, you know, one, don't tell your message to everybody. You know what I'm saying? And then on the other hand, you just got to go for it.
You do definitely have to just do it. Sometimes you have to take out some of the prep and all the other kind of stuff, because you sometimes are never going to be prepared enough. You just have to go out and try it. I don't think that a lot of people are able to get over that hump, because the fear inside of them is almost crippling.
Yes.
But to do that, you need to start by finding small things that you can overtake. Because for myself, even this period, I know that I used to have an extreme fear of heights, to the point where I couldn't even stand on a chair without really starting to catch a cold sweat, shaking in my boots. But to overcome that, I went skydiving. Now, that is the absolute most amazing experience. If you ever have the chance, I do recommend you doing it. Of course, go tandem skydiving. That means there's somebody strapped to your back, and they're going to save your life, just in case you're not, you know, able to think in the capacity that you need to be safe at that point. But we're not here to talk about me jumping out of planes and screaming at
and all that. An amazing experience,
you know, and doing backflips and all that other kind of stuff. It was absolutely amazing. Can you share with us a time you took a deep dive within yourself to, you know, center yourself in what the goals that you've had with the Phoenix Paradigm?
Man. So deep diving is actually something that I do daily. And sometimes it has its pitfalls, because I wouldn't really say pitfalls, but we were just talking about fears. So being somebody who I classify myself as a revolutionary, and I haven't made a great big impact as of yet, but when you're going down a road perpetually alone, there are a lot of voices that you hear, some crippling things and, some debilitating fears and whatnot. But doing that deep dive every day to center yourself, know what you hold true, what your values really are, that's what pulls me out every day. So recently I've gotten really involved. I wouldn't even say recently, but more so it kind of happens as I'm growing through my stage in life. So I've gotten more involved with my mental health and my mind-body connection. Every day I wake up at a certain point throughout the day. If I don't do it immediately, I'll do it by the end of the day. I'm doing some yoga. Yoga is a very centering activity.
You know that the internet said that men can't do yoga no more, right?
Hey, man, the internet says a lot of things. That's what I'm saying. You got to learn who you are and stop listening to all the voices around you. A lot of people say that you're not supposed to do this, and it's really based off the color of your skin. But, like, there's a lot of stuff that I do that are normal for me, but, people will be like, that's amazing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I
definitely do. It's just like, not even trying to cut you off, but it's just like simply getting up and working out consistently is unfathomable to a lot of people.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. So things that center me and keep me out of that, or reground me and let me dispel the fear and whatnot. Like I said, it's yoga. I love martial arts. I'm a martial artist. I practice Jeet Kune Do, which is a martial art that was created by Bruce Lee. So that centers me also.
It's a derivative of Wing Chun. This other people know.
Yes, it's a derivative of Wing Chun. So Ip Man was Bruce Lee's teacher, and Bruce Lee pretty much kind of broke away from that and then started learning from other styles. He started refining his own martial arts, because he called it Jun Fan JKD. So Jun Fan is like his specific martial arts, but Wing Chun is pretty much adaptive to anybody. So, that's where the whole be like water phrase comes from. So that helps me center myself, because it lets me move how my body moves. It lets me be authentic with myself. We have a big handicap when it comes to being original. And I get it. Not everybody's supposed to be completely original and like a maverick and whatnot, but we tend to, especially now in 2024, one thing happens, it's successful, everybody wants to do it.
I was about to say it's very hard to be super original, because let's be real, like after so many years of being human, it's not so many ways you can say the same thing. It's not so many different derivatives of how many ways you can do a new dance move. So like the saying goes, it's really nothing new under the sun. It's just how you revamp it.
Yeah, but we tend to love to be around what's comfortable to us.
Of course.
And by doing that, we create an echo chamber. Of course, it's going to be, you're going to start doing the same thing over and over, and then you kind of wane away from your originality.
Right. Correct. You are correct. So back to your own journey with the Phoenix Paradigm, can you tell us of a time that you had, there was a challenging period for you, and the things that you had to overcome when going through that challenging time or event that tested you?
A very challenging time for me was when my mother passed away. That was hands down one of the greatest things, if not the greatest, and I still deal with it from time to time, you know what I'm saying? I don't think you ever truly get over a loss of a loved one, but
Especially a parent.
exactly. So I lost my mother when I was 18. I thought when I was that age, I thought that I wasn't young, but through the wisdom I've gathered in my age, now I'm 32, going on 33. I have learned that there was a lot of things that I didn't learn from my mother. You know what I mean? And that's not weird to say, but it's a unique mindset to have, I would say, now, especially with the Black manosphere and things like that, where it's very much promoted that you don't learn from women. You learn from everyone in your life. Mm-hmm. So that was a challenge for me because I learned where your real authentic love comes from. And I mean, some people don't have that, unfortunately, with the dynamic of relationships and things of that nature, parent-child relationships. Unfortunately, some people don't get that. But I truly learned that your core matrix as in where you learn from, comes from your mother. That's your first teacher.
I heard this one quote, and I think it's super powerful, and it's also very scary at the same time. But mother is the name of God on the lips of children because they don't know any better. She is everything for a child. So, of course, you have something to learn from her.
Absolutely.
So, what is it that you felt like you did to get through that trial? Because that's something that's tough. And have you feel like you've gotten through it?
Like I said, day by day, it's something that you take on. You know what I mean? I reflect a lot. So I think always being aware of myself and coming back to center is how I get over anything. So, yeah, just exploring who I am because it's a learning process. We grow, and yeah, our mind may mature at a certain age and everything, but you learn who you are every day. So as far as getting over that, just getting closer to the people around me whose relationships I took for granted before. And this is very much something I'm learning in this stage of life, like getting closer to my siblings, getting closer to, my cousins, like that I've fallen out of touch with, getting closer to friends and, the people who do support me and like authentically feeling that authentic bond between myself and the people who see me for who I am. And then also being able to express who I am unconditionally and not being afraid of being labeled as weird or whatever stipulations other people give on me. So that's how I think I deal with any kind of adversity or trial or whatnot. I typically, like, when it comes to, like, fears or, like, to be honest, I've started learning from Adlerian psychology. So I always forget his first name. I don't think it's Joseph Adler, but his last name was Adler. And pretty much his basis was psychology. It's like there isn't a such thing as trauma. So trauma in its essence is pretty much holding on to something that serves you in a capacity. Like the way that people respond to you, or like, people kind of, they tiptoe around you when it comes to a certain situation because you label it as a trauma. It's like, you know what I mean? It gives you preferential
treatment.
Exactly. It gives you preferential treatment because people don't want to upset you or this, that, and the third. But it also hinders you because at a certain point you start to act on it. Your brain doesn't really know what is real and what's fake from what you're telling it. So the more you kind of lean into this story, that you could get over if you put the effort into getting over it, you tend to exhibit those characteristic traits unconsciously. And I'm very much butchering what he was about. If you want to learn more about Adlerian psychology, there's 2 great books that are written about it called The Courage to Be Disliked and then The Courage to Be, and then The Courage, I forgot the other one. So pretty much, if I could just
of course,
one more thing. As far as Adlerian psychology goes, so when Freud was pretty much
becoming predominant. Becoming predominant. I'm sorry.
Setting the foundation for the psychology framework that we use today. He had Alfred, his name might be Alfred, but Adler was one of the people who was pretty much put on par with him as far as like a progenitor of psychology. So he had his own, so he tested it in real time, in the public. He went to like bars and he talked to everyday people, and that's how he refined his theory on psychology. And, you know, through all that, pretty much he wasn't a couch psychologist, you know. So, and throughout all his interactions with people and whatnot, he helped people come to their own healing. There was never like a failed case of him, you know, helping someone get over their own psychological issues or dramas and whatnot like that.
That is definitely an amazing way to, you know, go through the psychology mindset, because the landscape with psychology is ever changing, and a lot of the terms that we coin now are not as detrimental to society as a whole as we think they are, and that becomes what we would say a buzzword that can cause mass hysteria. So you do need to understand a lot of these terms to their very, very minute details, because you can misdiagnose easily. But let's go back to something a little lighter. The achievements that you have made while in the pursuit of becoming this publisher that you have become, and what is it that you have taken from all of your accomplishments with it?
So, I guess accomplishments,
or achievements, whatever, anything that you want to highlight, man. What is a milestone? Any of those things.
A lot of things are self-taught. So I think just being able to grasp my own thirst for knowledge, and then searching and researching and, you know, finding courses and teaching myself has been a big staple of like achievement for me, you know, accomplishing things. That was something that I had to get over. It was like starting something halfway through and then, you know, kind of just letting it fizzle out or taper out. So really building onto that, everything that you see as far as the Phoenix paradigm goes is like self done. I did it myself. Like when you go on the website, you check everything out, build it from the ground up myself. I learned how to do all of that. You know, any emails that you get from me, if you decide to join the email list, subscribe to the email list.
Please subscribe to this man's email list so that he can share this information with you one-on-one, because I know that he is more so going to be involved with emailing you than he is going to be to put out the content, but not to say that he won't be putting out that content. It's just to get that information. He wants to give you, you know, small snippets of information at your own digestible rate.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. So, yeah, doing all that. I've had my teachers here and there, and I give credit to where it's credit due. I appreciate all the people who helped me learn. But a lot of that has been me just picking up and believing in myself, you know, despite being told that you can't do this and can't do that. You know, that's really where achievement has come from. I think that confidence in myself has really been like a big staple of achievement for myself. There'll be more achievements, you know what I'm saying?
Most definitely. Now, you saying some stuff that's seeming like this modern Western mindset, got to get it on your own, do it on your own. But how is it that you are celebrating those wins that you are making for yourself?
How do I celebrate them? Celebration.
Celebration.
Yeah, so I celebrate my wins with the people around me. The more that I accomplish, the more milestones I hit, the more I'm open to, expressing them and giving them to people. So I'm a giver. I'm a very big giver. So the higher that I go, the more I'm going to give back to the community. So that's really where my celebration comes from. I'm very much a community person. As much as I like to do a lot of things by myself, but it's to shed that dynamic that it can be done. You know what I mean?
I definitely understand what you mean. So after gaining your success, though, what are some things that prompted you to get back into exactly going back to being strong on what it is you're doing here with the Phoenix Paradigm?
After gaining my success, it started. I mean, the mission's never changed, so it's always been consistent with me giving back to the community, teaching people. My parents are both teachers, so it's something that I feel is ingrained in my genetic code, my soul, is to relay maybe not known information, but like things that are forgotten. Yeah.
Most definitely. So could you reveal to us a moment or a time where you felt like you transformed throughout this whole process and your growth, and how is it that you evolved, or both personally and or in the business?
I honestly don't know. I've seen myself change. Like, I look at myself today and I know that I'm completely different from where I was 10 years ago. But being with yourself, it's kind of hard to keep track of those things a lot of times. I know that I've become more diligent in the things that I do. I've become more consistent. Don't find myself having a lot of free time. So sometimes it kind of, it's kind of sad, free time, but at the same time, I enjoy what I'm doing. I enjoy putting in the effort and the work. And I think that is the thing, that might be the biggest thing that's shown my growth. Because when I first started, just the mission, like I said, I always felt like what I'm doing is what I'm supposed to be doing, but the mission was very daunting for me. It was something that I was like, how's my message going to be received? How, is it going to blow up? And now it's gotten to the point of it doesn't really matter how it's received. I just got to do it.
Well, I would say this, because you're going to put the message out there and the right people will receive it. Just like I have with the podcast here, I know that I put out a lot of content. I've even had a lot of people come out and give me constructive criticism. And I want to shout out anybody who has, just 2 videos ago, I didn't even know that I was having frame rate issues with the videos, but I was putting them out. I would go through, I had someone else edit and stuff, but, content was coming out. That's not the best thing, but it's all a learning curve, and it's all an experience that you have to take every step of the way. When you're saying all that, though, I do want to hear from you. What were some gems? And now I say gems here over on the Squeeze, because gems to me are something that you want to find when you walk outside any day. So what are some gems, or gifts, lessons, or insights that you have gained from, doing the Phoenix Paradigm publishing?
So I've learned a lot about wealth creation and generation, and that's something that I'll definitely pick up more as I accumulate more. But just learning how to maneuver money, what you're supposed to be doing with your finances and whatnot. So investing it in funds like 401ks and retirement accounts, and you know what I mean. Just as far as that goes, and then being able to build community wealth and over time, just stuff like that. So that's something that I've learned the actual benefits of starting and running a business, and how being a business owner, you are taxed completely differently than just being a person who has a 9-to-5 job. So business owners get a lot of tax breaks that a regular W-2 worker isn't available to receive, because they're putting out more services and more benefits to the community at large as far as the government is concerned. It's just a lot of things. There's a lot of things. And then just being more of a worldly person, getting out of just the environment, the little town that you grew up in, you start to see the world at large, and how different cultures and countries interact with one another, and what that means for your image on Earth.
I got another. Okay, so that is definitely a strong little situation you got there. And you speaking on Earth, I was curious. So how has your worldviews changed in this process?
So my worldview has changed by understanding that, despite everything that goes on in the Earth, at the basis is the Black community. A lot of things aren't mentioned specifically to our community, but a lot of the way things happen, they do it without tripping any wires to cause a revolution in the grassroots. So even with stuff like what's going on in the Palestinian-Israeli war, you see how South Africa, they put a petition out to pretty much, they brought a case against Israel as far as genocide goes, because of how they're treating the Palestinian people. And that very much equates to, the turmoil and the struggles that as Africans in America we have dealt with for a number of years. Just being privy to that and having a worldly view of that, you can start to see some of the fallacious behaviors of like the American government. And it kind of makes me think about why, at certain points they withheld support, like they took away their support from Israel, and then they're kind of like easing back into throwing more support behind them.
That's definitely questions.
Yeah.
For sure. Would you say, though, now with how you've been and everything has been going, that you have found your call to action in life, and that, it remains consistent in you, that urges you to broaden your horizons?
Yes. So
yes,
definitely found my call. All I do is just build onto it. So I heard the call years ago, and it's just been getting louder, So it's getting louder. It's showing me different dynamics. It's like when I see things that I should pursue, again, I might have some reservations or some hesitancy to get behind it, but then that voice is like, yo, just go for it. Just do it. Jump into it. Put it out there. Put that content out there. And then it's not even just from myself. It becomes a voice that I hear from the people around me. Case in point, my brother Juice here. Yeah. So it's that I've definitely found my calling, and it's only just going to grow from where it is now.
Could you just let me know some of the, for yourself, because, with going through any journey, you change a lot, but what are some of the principles or values in yourself that have changed, have not changed through the face of all of the things that you have done today?
Loving my community first and foremost. Despite what goes on, how you're treated, how things change in the media, the images, loving the black woman first. Again, aside from all that we hear in like the social media and online realms and whatnot, that is the basis of my belief fundamentally, is that we start with the people who look like us, and that's how we can make a change. How can you really love anybody else if you can't love the people that represent you? Like, you're a mirror of myself.
That is definitely an amazing thing.
Yeah, I'm a big hippie at heart, so a lot of it is gonna circle back around to love. Everything I do is out of the loving heart. That's who my mother was. That's the kind of family that we have. So, and that's the people I surround myself with.
People that you feel like is family.
Absolutely.
All right.
A lot of friends. They just kind of merge into that family realm.
Okay, that's definitely strong and powerful, because honestly, today you can't even really deal with quote unquote friends if they're not getting close enough to become family. Then those aren't the type of people you want to deal with, because most probably they're only going to be in your life for a season, not like those other people who are there for a reason.
And that's fine too, because everybody has a reason, whether they're there for a season or not. You can learn from anybody, and you should learn from anybody and everybody. Even the people that you don't want to emulate, you should definitely, you learn from them what you don't want to do, what you don't want to be in life. So that could be more of a lesson worth learning than, just being around victories all the time. I guess you know what I'm saying?
Or like-minded people, that echo chamber that we spoke on earlier.
Absolutely.
Can you talk about anything that has come unexpectedly into play in your journey that has played a major role in shaping how you do things?
I mean, it's a new voyage, new journey in itself. So I think there wasn't really much that I was expecting. So it's just been taking it step by step, learning as the process has evolved. When you start to meet more people and talk to more people and get into different circles, you start to, you meet situations that you don't really expect. But as of right now, nothing really too different.
Nothing really?
Nothing I can think of, no.
Okay, so what is it that actually keeps you motivated and on your goals and path that you've put yourself on?
Seeing our people thrive, seeing us getting to, as I mentioned earlier, that potential, maximizing that potential that I know is innate in our community that we have currently locked down. So just seeing that start to blossom, seeing that seed grow is what keeps me motivated.
No problem. And could you tell us about some of the relationships that have affected or played a crucial role in your journey and how they have affected you or your journey in general, period?
Okay. Relationships with my elders. As I've grown, I've definitely bonded with elders and learned just from their viewpoint of where our community has come from, as opposed to what it is now, but bring those feelings, those sentiments back up, that community feeling. The relationship mentioned that I did an interview with Dr. Umar Johnson. The relationship, met him on a number of occasions, and that's a relationship that I would like to grow even further and, bring him as one of the focal points to the Phoenix Paradigm, following the FDMG Academy and things of that nature. But he was the first interview that I did. So that's a relationship that I've very much wanted to develop, working with brothers like yourself to spread our message and then to get up, bring us out there together. Those are relationships that I definitely cherish, that I appreciate, and that I want to continue to grow. Yeah, just the people that I interview, developing those relationships as well. don't want it to just be a one and done, but just want to create that community feeling.
Now, you said something, or you referenced something that I want to speak on a little bit. You touched on something that I really want to talk about, because today we have lost the mentorship that we used to have with the Big Brother program, if we're talking about the Boy Scouts and things like that. I think that now it's harder to find actual mentors. And to be honest with you, we have almost abolished even looking for mentors and just relying on influencers to tell us what it is that we need to do. And I just wanted to pick your mind on what you thought about it.
So personally, I think when you're going through whatever journey you're walking down, you always have to have someone to look up to, someone who has paved a similar path, so that nothing on earth is completely new. There's always something that you can take from somewhere else and repurpose it or redesign it. So I think it's a very critical thing, and it also does foster that unifying feeling that we mentioned before. When you have a teacher or a role model to look up to and aspire to, it gives you a confidence when that is a mutually
exclusive or beneficial.
Yeah, mutually beneficial relationship, where
symbiosis.
Symbiosis, when you can talk to them, tell them where you're coming from, and then they can relate to you, their journey and how it relates to what you're doing. And that's something that is very important in our community, and it's something that every community does. Everybody does it. When you are looking for success, there are keys of success that happen before you. So it's definitely a good thing to definitely have those role models or mentors or teachers to guide you and to lean on. And you don't necessarily have to have an in-person. You can find a role model or someone to aspire to or learn from through, their story, maybe read an autobiography, become engrossed in their story as an individual, because, books are very, very good for that. You know what I'm saying? People put their stories in books, autobiographies or biographies, what have you, and then you can learn this person went through this struggle or that struggle and things of that nature. So.
And no, definitely. You definitely should read more books. It should be something that comes second nature to you, because it definitely just broadens your horizon. And we here, myself, I'm going to be putting out a book very soon. The name is pending, so we're not going to announce it, but I just want you guys to be looking out for it, because I'm telling you now, and I just want you to know I'm going to have to be accountable for it myself, but it's coming soon. And I've spoken about it once before, and we have gotten a lot of progress, and you will be seeing it very, very soon. But back to the good brother Charlie. Oh, he wants to say something.
I hope that you will allow us, because the name of the business is the Phoenix Publishing Paradigm. So, or that's originally what it was. So I hope you'll allow us to help you go down that journey. We'll work through our medium and everything to bring out your book.
And that's why I spoke about it right now, because I would love to get some, lovely editorial help and any other kind of help I can get while making the book. So if you are a young Black writer in the DMV area, or a writer at all, and you want to work with the publishing company Phoenix Paradigm, let me say that one more time. If you are a young aspiring or any type of aspiring writer, and you want to work today with the Phoenix Paradigm Publishing LLC, please hit them up right down in the description below, because they will be working to your best abilities to make what you are looking for come to reality. There we go, my brother. But now, could you share with us, all right, if you don't mind, could you share with us some setbacks that you've had while going on this path to creating this business that you've now made something of a success? And how did you overcome all of those kind of things?
So setbacks that I've majorly dealt with on the journey have been, you know,
And for the folks who don't know what that is, could you give them a little?
so analysis paralysis is needing to, or feeling that you need to understand 100% of what you are doing before taking any action.
Mm-hmm.
So I've dealt with that as far as, and that's the thing with knowledge is once you start going down the rabbit hole, there's always something new to learn. So you can perpetually just start to spin your wheels and end up not taking any action. So what broke me out of that is talking to people, my close inner circle, and telling them what my dreams are, and them telling me you should go for it. And me saying, well, this, that, and the third, I think I need to learn more. And then encouraging me to take the first step, because we've mentioned before, as you learn or as you gain experience, you're always going to find new facets of things to learn while you're going down the journey. So you kind of need to take the first step in order to see how to improve the next step from that. And essentially that defeats analysis paralysis, is taking action.
Now, you said something also there that was kind of key with the analysis paralysis, is learning all this stuff almost puts you at a halter, or like it holds you back. But, you know, the act of actually going out and doing it gives you not just a sense of relief, but it lets you ease into actually being comfortable doing what it is that you're striving towards doing. So just like with the podcast, I recommend to anybody, if you're looking to start any type of business, if you want to succeed in TikTok, Instagram, all of these kind of things, just get started. As much as you want to plan it out, you want it to be perfect, it's not always going to be that perfect. And guess what? The best thing I want to say to you guys is all the type of information, both good and bad, are going to be lessons. The people, like he was saying, that, want to, support you, will help you to go out and strive towards doing it. But people that have negative comments, they're all giving you a lesson of constructive criticism. For example, I think I also mentioned it earlier in the video, but there are times where the quality or something like that has faltered on this podcast. Somebody might have said it as a snide remark, but guess what? It was something for me to learn how to make better, so that way they can't complain about it in the future. Are there any symbols and or metaphors that hold a specific or special meaning towards the Phoenix paradigm and you personally?
I'm edited it out.
So there's an Andrika symbol, which is their Ghanaian, African symbolism. One of them is called the Bomene Me Mo, which is actually this symbol that I have on my arm. And it's also the focal point in our logo, the Phoenix Paradigm's logo. And what this symbol means, it literally translates into help me to help you. So when I was looking to create a logo for what the Phoenix Paradigm symbolized, that pretty much summed up the community aspect that I wanted to embody in one, because you help me by giving me your attention. I help you by promoting your business and getting your image and your brand out there. That's essentially what the marketing company is for. So that was one of the biggest symbols. It really resonated to the mission. The Phoenix was also a major symbol because people aren't that aware that in Egypt it was called a Bennu bird. But the Bennu bird was essentially the precursor of the Phoenix, what is known as the Phoenix. So I think it embodied Osiris's soul, and it would pretty much come back to life. And it was that image, the imagery of coming back to life, is what I want wanted to express as far as like the community goes, the community feeling us like we're not a dead community. The community, the unity that is felt throughout the African diaspora isn't dead. It's in fact coming back. And I see that is my dream, that's my vision. And so the two of them together is that returning that feeling and then bringing that synergy back into the larger community.
That sounds very, very beautiful. And with that being said, because obviously all of those things take connections, and I'm just curious, have any of your connections evolved or changed over this, like throughout this course, and have any of them unexpectedly become pivotal to you?
At this time, they're still growing, we're still building. I think the more our image and our brand gets out there, the more pivotal each relationship will become. Because again, that's the whole essence of the business. It's like as soon as our brand becomes a household name, God willing, then all the brands and the companies and everything that we've worked with thus far will gain traction and they'll build up as well. They're all critical. And we're all going to grow together.
Can you reflect on some wisdom that you've gained from a crisis or tragedy in yourself, and how is it that it reshaped the resilience that you had to be true to your path?
So crisis is that I've dealt with. Again, I've told you about like the loss of losing loved ones, like my mother, and that's affected me. But those have it helped me realize that as much as like the mission is kind of a oxymoron at the same time, because as much as it's about the community and building a community feeling, at the end of the day, you have yourself. So you have to be able to, in order to help strengthen the people that you want to serve, you have to strengthen yourself. So that has been my pivotal lesson, is that every day you just take a little step to get better than you were before, to strengthen yourself up and build yourself up than you were before, so that you can help the people that you need to help. And that's what I do.
Okay, that's amazing. And we're about to get towards the end of the show, but we need to make sure that you're going to be accountable for all this stuff you're talking about, because here on The Squeeze, we are now implementing the accountability sessions here with our interviews. So you'll be the first and hopefully the most prominent change. But we need to know, as you continue your journey, let us know 3 things that you have happening coming up, that the people here to look out for, and how they can reach out to find you when they're looking out for those things. And then on top of that, when we get you back on, you're going to have to show proof.
Okay. So 3 things that I'm looking to push forward with the Phoenix Paradigm are, 1, to get into the public and start finding news relevant to our community, starting with the grassroots. We want to grow our journalism segment. Again, we want to further build marketing segment with our company. So take on more clients, start helping black-owned business brands build themselves up and strengthening their online presence. And last thing, I'd love to start publishing our, black authors and taking on some prolific writers and promoting those books, those artworks.
Okay. So if you guys can, this has been your boy Chili Charlie with the Phoenix Paradigm. Please hit him up over on, where would you like them to hit you up at?
So you can reach us on the Phoenix RBG. It's Instagram, Facebook. You can find us on the Phoenix Paradigm. Also, where else? ThePhoenixParadigm.com. So hit us up on the website, chime in, send us a lead, subscribe to the email list and everything, so that you can be up to date on all the latest things that are going on with the community that we're building around you.
All right, my brother. That's amazing. This has been a lovely episode of The Squeeze. I hope you guys have loved it. Please hit that like button. If you guys have any questions for Charlie, please hit up in those comments. And before we get him up out of here, we're going to ask him one last question. If you could offer any words of advice for our viewers, what would they be?
I would say whatever actually take the time, extricate yourself from the people around you. Sit down and really hone in on what is pulling at your soul. What is calling you to rise above and beyond? It might not be something that is commonplace, but the world needs it. Those spiritual pulls, those pulls from your internal world are very much needed, and they are tethered from the ether. It's a little spiritual, but definitely don't hesitate, because every person has something to offer the world that the world does need. So find it in yourself.
Beautiful quote, my brother. And I hope that you guys who do resonate with it, they'll take that with peace and grow. And this has been your host, Juice, on another episode of The Squeeze. Peace. Oh, you want to start up your deuces? Go ahead.
Peace.